the roots inside. So we now come to a main event that many non-Jewish scholars or even others ask in the world. This event is terrible. This is discriminatory. This event is terrible. The driving out of a son in the house of Avraham and Sarah. So it says in verse 9, Vayera Sarah, what did she see? Et ben Hagar HaMitzrit. Doesn't say his name, but rather he associates his life, his culture, his philosophy to his mother and not
to his father.
Otherwise it should have stated
Ben
Et ben Avram. But it says what? Ben Hagar. That's number one. Furthermore, Mitzrit. We all know the vulgar, terrible, evil culture of Egyptian culture. How they're willing to commit all different types of vulgar sins and even kill a man to take his wife away. That's the culture that could be deep down in the heart of this mother called Hagar. And what is Mr. Ben Hagar doing? Mitzachek. So we're saying the word mitzachek means to uproot, lisharesh, to uproot the education in the house of Avram and Sarah. In other words, Yishmael, and Chazal back it up and bring verses from Mishlei and other places, this Ben Hagar, Yishmael, is part of a group that are poking fun of the miracles, the divinity, the education that's given to his younger brother Yitzchak. Ever since he was born, he wants to claim, I am the sole inheritor of the father of Avraham Avinu. Okay? All the promises are coming to me. And what he was born, maybe he was born from Avimelech. So we have now a very severe situation. An older boy, 14 years old and more, because now the party has happened, at least he's now 15 or 16 years old. He's poking fun. In a deep sense, he wants to say that I am the heir, I'm the inheritor of the future of Avraham Avinu. So here is a hint. When it says, Asher Yalda Avraham, you notice it? Again, people are saying that he was born from Avraham. Here's into what Yishmael is laughing at. He's mocking Avraham and saying, like the clowns of the generation are saying, that Yitzchak was conceived from Avimelech. And only he himself, Yishmael, was the only one born from Avraham, related to Sarah, the mistress of Sarah. Now, no way you look at it, you're a father, you're a mother, you've been raising the children, you have love for every child. Avraham is not quoted here. Who is the first one quoted after seeing this behavior that he's like the Ben of Hagar? In other words, it could be that who's provoking this education, who's provoking these comments, who's provoking this way of life? The mother, Hagar. It could be Hagar that's provoking Ishmael to laugh at Yitzchak and his lineage. Furthermore, why would Hagar have an interest in raising her disagreement? She disliked the preferential treatment Sarah was giving to. Sarah was giving better treatment to Yitzchak than giving to Ishmael. Maybe that's why Ishmael is called the Ben Hagar Mitzrit, and he's not even called his own name. Sarah comes up with a difficult decision. Pasuk Yud verse 10. Vatomer Avraham, but I want to read it again. Vatomer Avraham, she's speaking gently. Garesh ha'ama hazot, v'yet bena, ki lo yirash ben ha'ama hazot, im beni im Yitzchak. Notice, Sarah does not mention the child's name, Yishmael. Neither does she mention that he's the son of Avraham Avinu. Why do you think the Torah is sharing? What idea here? Because, as we're saying before, my father-in-law writes about this, he denies the birth of Yitzchak from Avraham. He goes up against it. He's publicizing it's not true. The father of Yitzchak is Avimelech. So Sarah here says this kid is related to Hagar, the Shivcha, a maidservant. She's not related to Avraham. Therefore, this kid has no legal right, privilege of the future inheritance of the house of Avraham Avinu. Now, who didn't make this suggestion? Who didn't make this initiative? Avraham Avinu did not. And I would like to understand, Avraham is very brilliant, intelligent, he's a prophet. Why is it that he's not suggesting this? What is he thinking about? As we're going to see, it's not easy for him. As it says in verse Yud Aleph, Vayera davar mod ben Avraham aladot beno. He's in a dilemma. It's very difficult, Vayera, from the word ra, bad. Could it be that Avraham has faith that the spirit of education in this house, the good, the divine part of this house, will overcome the spirit of education of the Egyptian mother? I don't want my child to have an Egyptian education from what Egyptian culture is about. But you know what? He's hoping and thinking that even though that Hagar is probably going to be speaking, educating the child Ishmael as much as possible, he's thinking maybe it'll overcome. The light will overcome darkness. The good will overcome the bad. But a woman has bina. Have you noticed that? Bina yetera nitna la'isha, the Talmud says. Bina from the word lahavin, to understand. Inner understanding. Chokhmah, bina, v'da'at. Letters. There you go. Chabad. Bina, we say it in our Amidah, in the blessing of wisdom. She knows who he is. He's a para Adam. He's a para Adam. What does para mean? What was stated in the last week's Parsha about him? Like a wild man. And Rabbi Dov Lior, Hagon Rav Dov Lior, the former rabbi of Kiryat Arba Hebron, would always say in this explanation, when you want to say Steve is a nice man, would you please give him a compliment? Say that in Hebrew.
Steve Yafe.
Who Adam Tov, he's a good man. Adam Tov. When you want to say that Hananel is a courageous man, what do you say? Who Ish Amitz Gibor. What do you notice? The adjective and the noun. What is the order in Hebrew? First the noun, and then the adjective. About Yishmael, what is stated in last week's Parsha? Para Adam. Why? Why is the adjective preceding the noun? The answer is that's his essence, that's his character. Very good, Yosef. No matter what chinuch you're going to give him, okay, and the best you can get from Avraham Avinu is going to be limited. He will burst every barrier. He will not live with the limitations of society, the boundaries of behavior, the limits of morals. He will not adhere to it whatsoever. Sarah says, it's better that he leave right now because I don't want him to be a burden, a menace, an evil influence on my son. And therefore, you act now. And the wording she says, Garesh et ha'amazot v'et bena. They both have to go. You notice this? She turns to Avraham in a very determined way here. There's no room for mocking fun. about the birth of Yitzchak, number one. And the longer he stays here, there's going to be a battle about the future. When my husband dies, who will be the heir, inheritor of all this spiritual lineage, the having the land of Israel to him, the values of God and prophecy to him? Do you notice the verb she uses? Ki lo yirash. He's not going to inherit. Apparently it was a battle, a conflict, competition, striving together. Who will be the heir, the inheritor of the house of Avraham? The natural reaction of Avraham Avinu, my friends, Yud Aleph, the Torah shears the difficulty, the emotions. We have in life difficulty. We have in life sometimes bad feelings. Look, the Torah says, look at 11. Vayera hadavar me'od. Not only is it difficult in Avram's eyes, me'od. It's very difficult in the eyes of Avram, alodot beno. No action. Mother and father, there's a rift. There's a lack of consensus. Will a third party come in? Who's the third party?
Hashem.
There you go. Pasuk, you've read this story before, right? Or you watched the movie, one of the two. Pasuk Yud Bet, put your fingers on the place, please. Vayomer Elokim el Avram, judgment, Elokim. Al yera be'einecha, ala nar ve'ala matecha. Don't have any ill feelings about the nar. Doesn't even call the name. He doesn't deserve it. Ve'ala matecha, nor the maidservant. She's a maidservant. She's not a mother. Why? Kol asher tomar eilecha. Everything. Not 50%, not 60%. Kol, everything. She says, Sarah to you, Shema bekola. Listen to her kol of divine inspiration, her kol, her voice of prophecy. Ki biyitzchak yikarei lecha zara. Who will your seed be called in? Who will be the future of Avraham Avinu? In Yitzchak. In Yitzchak and not in anyone else. So therefore, Aleph, we're avoiding any bad education. They both have to leave, the mother and the son. So here, Avraham Avinu is told not to have a bad feeling. Remember, he wants to give kindness to Hagar. In the end, he gave her a child. Okay? But now it's Elokim. No bad feelings about this lad and about the mother. Because apparently Avraham Avinu considered Ishmael as a son. And maybe even a son that possibly can inherit. No. If you think Ishmael is equal or like Yitzchak, that will inherit you, you're mistaken. Ki b'Yitzchak yikareh. Only in Yitzchak does he have the heart. In Yitzchak is he carrying the skula, the divine trait. The light of God is in Yitzchak and not in Yishmael. By the way, b'Yitzchak, is that what it says? The letter Bet? Be is in him, but not all of him. Huh? We're talking about the future. Yitzchak will have children in the future. It'll be in a part of Yitzchak. The seed of Avram will be called, namely who and not who? And not? Excellent. That's what Chazal say. In Yitzchak, not all of Yitzchak. The people of God will have to be separated. There are those that are unfit, not proper for carrying the name of God. So therefore your seed will be called after Yitzchak. Indeed, Yishmael is your seed, but the point is, he doesn't stem from Avram and Sarah. And by the way, is there a physical danger to the driving out of Ishmael? No. Pasuk Yud Gimel we're reading. V'gam et ben ha'ama legoy asimenu. My dear friends, there is no danger here for the seed of Yishmael. He's getting a blessing. Do you see that in the words? Okay? Legoy, I will make him to a nation with a culture, a language, a multiple number of individuals. Okay? A lot of good parts of the material world. But to be called the son of Avraham Avinu? He's not your spiritual heir. He's not your spiritual inheritor.
In the end, he didn't get anything. And the other children of Abraham,
Keturah, Griffs.
got presents.
That's correct. My dear friends, we see that Avram Avinu gets up early in the morning, like you've been saying during this week, alacrity is quick, zrizot, to do the mitzvah of driving out his son. However, he gives him a measure of what? Bread, water. He doesn't just let him go untakenly. Okay? He provides for him, even though it's an emotional, difficult task to do, to send him away. But he does this mitzvah just like God commands him to do any other mitzvah. Once Avram Avinu is commanded to do something, he has no ill feelings. He has no emotional difficulties. He's idealistic. He does it himself. He doesn't say, Roger, come over here, you do it for me. You know who Roger is? Doesn't make a difference. He has all different persons working for him. So he gives him the basic things. But I want you to know, when you drive someone out, you don't give him anything. But here they're giving him breakfast in the morning to let him go. I don't want to talk about the rest of this event here, but I want to talk about the following matter. And this is the punishment of driving out someone who doesn't belong to you. I learned from Rav Chanan Porat, in righteous blessed memory, one of the builders of Gush Etzion, Kfar Etzion, a great Tanakh teacher who studied in Merkaz Rav. He freed the Kotel. He was in that unit in the 6-Day War. We've been watching that the punishment of driving man away starts already from the beginning of the book of Bereshit. Who was chased out of Gan Eden? Who was driven out? Adam HaRishon, because of his sin. Cain, his son, turns into a man after he kills, of traveling everywhere and following the murder of Havel. He's also driven out. He cannot stay one place too much long time. When we get to the generation of division, what does God do to them to prevent them from rebelling against God? He disperses them all over places, right? Vayafetz Hashem otam. So too, when we learned about the Brit Ben HaBetarim, and Avram Avinu took animals and cut them up and put them on one side, the Talmud says, and it's brought in Rashi, that the nations of Canaan are hinted to in the Brit Ben HaBetarim, that they will eventually be driven out of the land of Canaan because of their sins. This route that we've been watching here in the book of Bereshit, of driving out those that are sinners, according to the Ramban, is one of the central lessons that we're learning about the act of creation here in the book of Bereshit. And so too, the first Rashi, do you remember the first Rashi in the book of Bereshit? Rashi decides to bring the famous Midrash, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak. Why did the Torah begin with Bereshit creation? Shouldn't it start with the first public mitzvah to the nation? In Shemot chapter 12, the establishing of the Hebrew calendar, HaChodesh HaZelachem, for the Jewish people to set the calendar and create the months of Rosh Chodesh. Why? What's the reason it opened up that God created the world? And the reason Rashi brings the name of Rabbi Yitzchak, that if the nations of the world come and say, Listman, not a Listman, list him. There you go. No one caught the joke, right? What are listim? Robbers. Not listmen. Please be careful what you say. Now we understand. Okay. Listimatem, you're robbers. If the nations come to us and say, you are robbers, you took away the land of the 7 nations, what will we say to them? Hey buddy, all the land, planet Earth, belongs to the Creator. He created, He gave it to you. He can also, if He wants, just like He gave it to you, He can take it back from you and give it to us. These are the words of Rashi in the opening Rashi, the educator of the Torah. That everyone, this Rashi in France, he was accepted by all worlds of schools of thought of the Jewish people all over the world. And we ask, from this great Rashi, 2 questions. Is the decision of the creator of the world to give the land, is it just by fancy thinking? Okay? That God, he has desire to give it to them and not to others? Or is there a real reason behind that? Furthermore, is the objective of the creation, the story of creation, the book of Bereshit, is it to inform us, if it is, that he is the boss? Couldn't it just say, Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz, and not tell us all these events? What have to find out that he's chased out of here and they're dispersed there, and now Yishmael's being chased out? What do I have to know that for? Because of these questions, Ramban Nachmanides explains or furthers the point of what Rashi says, and I want to quote you what he says. I'll try to transliterate to my best ability. The Torah began with the act of creation of God and all the stories of creation until mankind. And then what mankind did and Gan Eden, all this to tell us the point that God drove out the one that's sinning. And the generation of the flood, and because of their sins, they were chased out of the world as well. And only the tzaddik, like Noach and his family, were saved. And in the generation of division, Dora Pelaga, their sins caused them to be dispersed on the planet of earth. Therefore, this is Mishpat HaElokim. In other words, Ramban sees this is a major theme of the book of Bereshit. The law of God in the land is that Aleph, the people of God, the servants of God, the seed of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they're the ones that have to inherit the land of God, and the others that their behavior is not proper, they have to be sent out of here. So my dear friends, this event that we're learning, certainly when we learn it from a divine point of view, from a moral divine point of view, and understand what's written here is applicable for all generations. How fitting it is that the Jewish people who are growing up, first time in 2,000 years, we're beginning to find ourselves, who we are and what we're about, and we have the right and the left and the centrist and this and that. And there were people that were saying, we told you not to do this 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. But our nation is not, everyone studying in Machon Meir, they're not here yet. And now we're going through suffering, yet a decision, a bold decision to wipe out the evil has been made. And the best of the armies of the world, with precision, with the best of weapons, and also using danger involved, we're trying now to wipe out the evil. They don't deserve to live here at all whatsoever. They have to be wiped out, they and all their supporters. And we don't have to feel, we're coming out of the Holocaust. No, we have to be careful with mankind. No, this is not mankind. We should have no conscious problems whatsoever. And if these evil people use human beings as a shield, if they use hospitals to store their weapons, all we have to do is say, warning, you have 24 hours to leave. And if not, we should have no problem bombing the hospital. Let them go to another hospital. Let them go to other countries, other nations. And therefore, we're going through a very, very special time. And we're learning from Avraham, Yisara, and Yishmael. And God is giving us a bracha here at the same time of great rain. And we're going to see a great victory of the Jewish people with a lot of patience and a lot of tefillah and a lot of prayer and a lot of study of Torah. B'meira v'yameinu. Amen. Amen.